Hey there guys, this is Flamzeron, aka YouTube's Tasuke. A little under a month ago, I finished Warriors All-Stars. I think it's only been out for like maybe a month or so, maybe two, I think, at least in North America. Obviously it's been out in Japan for quite some time. But I finished it and I figured I should review it and talk about it and give y'all my thoughts on it, since I do like me some good Warriors games, and it seems like for the past like 6 months, I've played almost exclusively Warriors games or Warriors-like games. I've even got Dragon Quest Heroes 2 still on the back burner, which I'll probably get to at some point. I think the current game I'm working on right now is Pokken Tournament DX on my Switch, but I'll save that for another time. What we're going to talk about here is Warriors All-Stars. This cool little mishmash crossover Warriors game. To start off with, I played the PS4 version. I know that in at least North America, and I assume probably Europe as well, it's also on PC. And I think in Japan as well, technically. I think whenever something comes out on Steam, Japan gets it, if it's one of their things. I know in Japan it was also released on the Vita, but we didn't get the Vita version. So over here, we only got it for PS4 and Steam. But I played the PS4 version, and, you know, in terms of how it ran, I guess it ran fine. I mean, it was made for it. Steam is probably the one that you might need to be more concerned about, but I imagine it probably runs pretty well. It kind of seems like this generation, in terms of Warriors games, instead of being on PS4 or PS3 and Xbox 360, it's probably going to be PS4 and PC. I think Dynasty Warriors 9 is going to be put on Xbox One as well, though, but again, separate topic. Basically, this game is it's like Warriors Orochi, except there's more than just Samurai and Dynasty Warriors. It's a collection of characters from all of the Tecmo Koei franchise, or at least most of them, and any that they don't include, they do make reference to. Like, for example, apparently Solomon's Key is, I assume probably a Tecmo game. It seems like in terms of, like, old, like, retro, like, 8-bit, and like arcade stuff is probably on the Tecmo side. I think most of the modern stuff's going to be from Koei. In fact, I'm pretty sure the majority of the characters are Koei characters. But there are some like references as well to older stuff. Like, and they reference the Zil-Ul series, like Trinity Souls of Zil-Ul, for example, was I think like the latest one. That was sort of like a Dynasty Warrior style RPG. It would have been cool if they included Nemiya, and he was in Warriors Orochi 3 anyway, so like they could have just like altered his style a little bit and put it in here, because they do as far as I can tell, they do alter the characters' fighting styles to kind of fit under one like general thing. As you can probably guess, I did play as Yukimura. He's my boy, and one of the things that I noticed from him pretty early on, plus as well as in the trailers, instead of having like instead, for his Muso attack, he didn't go into like a hyper mode where he'd do like a little combo and then do his Muso attack. He would go straight into his Muso attack, which I think is like an original one, or at least one that I hadn't seen before. I don't know if it's from like Samurai Warriors 2 or whatever. I guess I could check, but because I have Samurai Warriors 2 Empires, but he basically, as far as I can tell, they did change up generally a lot of the Warriors characters' fighting styles. Even characters who were in like the Warriors, like Ryu Hayabusa, is obviously they're taken from his Warriors Orochi 3 counterpart. I think Kasumi, I think they more or less rewrote her. I'm guessing, because since there are more Dead or Alive characters in this game, which for those who are interested, the characters from Dead or Alive in this game are Kasumi, Honoka, who's like the new schoolgirl chick, Marie Rose, who's sort of like that blonde, long pig-tailed, gothic Lolita character, borderline loli, and Ayane, who I feel like they put in with Ryu Hayabusa and considered her part of Ninja Gaiden. I think in the character roster, she's put with him. I think she's like right next to him. I don't know. I know she was. I think she was in Ninja Gaiden 3, the new one, new-ish. I know, and I think on PS3 they call it what, Ninja Gaiden Sigma 3 or Ninja Gaiden 3 Sigma or something. I think she was in that one because I know Dead or Alive and Ninja Gaiden cross over a bit. But I think Kasumi, they actually altered her style. Ayane, she didn't really seem that different. And I'd have to double check with Kasumi just to make sure. But I'm pretty sure they altered at least Kasumi's style to kind of fit more the Dead or Alive thing. Because in Warriors Orochi, she used like her sword, like a little ninja sword, where it probably would have been more appropriate if she like punched things, since she punches things in Dead or Alive. I'm pretty sure Honoka and Marie Rose punch things, though, as they're supposed to. Plus, I don't think they use weapons anyway. But other than that, everyone seems to kind of play how you would expect them. Obviously, like the actual Warriors characters do play like their Warriors counterparts. It's more like they're altered a little bit. I probably should have been more clear about that. I played a little bit of Zhao Yun, and he seemed more or less on point. They included a dodge roll, which I found to be very useful, because I found it really useful to like dodge enemies that way. And I believe Samurai Warriors actually included that at one point. But it was kind of cool being able to dodge roll. It felt very Dark Souls to me. I know that's really popular these days to compare everything to Dark Souls. But I kind of had a Dark Souls mentality with it, though. Like, instead of like just rolling out of the way, I would like try to dodge under the attacks, and from what I could tell, it worked. I didn't like test it or anything. I might test it on my own time. I'm not going to test it in the footage because that's just going to look ridiculous. But that was kind of cool. They also include like the running thing, where like after you where you sprint to like go faster. That's obviously new for Yukimura, because as far as I know, he didn't have that in Samurai Warriors 4 or Spirit of Sanada for that matter. And that was pretty cool. It was actually kind of hard getting, because I played Spirit of Sanada for a little bit again, and I was doing one of the later levels. I'm like, why isn't Yukimura sprinting? I'm like, oh yeah, that's not a thing in this game. But and actually he was a little slower too. Or he seemed slower at first. Because I'll go into the story as we continue. But the way the story kind of starts off is that they let you choose which character you want to play as. It's not like, I was expecting them to do sort of like because in like the promotional and like advertising material in this game, especially on the Western side of things, they would like pair up characters based on who they were working for, because they introduced 3 new characters, Shiki, Setsuna, and Tamaki, and I remember there was like Team Shiki or Team Setsuna or whatever. So I was wondering, like, I was thinking like, okay, they're gonna make me pick from there, so I need to know who Yukimura joins, and of course he joins Shiki. So I think I looked that up before I even went into the game. I don't remember, but thankfully they let you pick who you want to play as, so I could pick Yukimura. And obviously, as you can probably guess, as the story goes on, everyone joins together anyway. So like, it's more a matter of who you want to play as and who you want to start with and whose perspective you want. I don't know if many players would be playing as someone other than who they start with, and they give you a lot of choices. I think they even give you William from Neo, who, by the way, he actually plays pretty close to how he would play in Neo. Like like his actions and his movements matched how he fought. Because of that, he played kind of weird. Like he felt like he had his range was like too short or something. I don't know. So I didn't really use him that much. But he's actually kind of funny because he's like the only character who speaks English, which is it's actually kind of interesting. Like, cause this game there's no like English voiceover except for William. Everyone's voiced in Japanese and English text. It's one of those things. But William is actually voiced in English, and as far as I know, they didn't like alter his text or anything to like better fit the English version, and I don't think they got his voice actor back to re-record anything. I think they just used what's in the Japanese version, which is cool because when you get 1,000 kills, he says, "I never thought I'd be a dynasty warrior." I'm like, sweet, In the Japanese version, they reference the international title of the series. Ugh. And not Shin Sangoku Muso. But which is funny because they refer to the like the little, because your little soldiers from the Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors show up, and they're referred to as Three Kingdoms soldier and Warring States or Sengoku era soldier. And I thought that was a nice little touch, since I know like Samurai Warriors and Dynasty Warriors are not necessarily you know, point by point accurate translations. It's stylized. Obviously, you know, during the Sengoku period there were samurai, so I'm pretty sure, because Sangoku, it's referring specifically to the Three Kingdoms, so calling it Dynasty doesn't really is a little too broad, but you know, no biggie. Still an awesome title, and I actually wouldn't change it if I had the chance to. I would just keep it the way it is. But yeah, to get back to the point, it'd be kind of funny, like William would be talking to, say, Mitsunari. Mitsunari would be all like, William-san, Genki desu ka? And he'd be all like, I'm well, how are you doing, Mitsunari? That was kind of funny. I didn't really get a chance to hear him, like, in voiceover too much. I did hear, like, it's in, like, the regular, like, in-game, like, dialogue box. It's one of those games where, like, when a character's icon comes up and they talk, like, they make, like, a sound, like, yeah, alright, you know, that kind of stuff. It's one of those kind of games. So he would, like, make noises, and I'm like, he can talk, it's one of those games. And they do it for every, like, character change, as far as I know. In dialogue, I mean. So that was kind of cool. I guess we should move on to the actual story then. Basically, all the characters are summoned into this world by Tamaki, because their, like, life spring is, like, going out. They have, like, this water spring with, like, a life in it. And if they run out of stuff, like, their world will die. And so Tamaki tried to summon all these warriors. They all got, like, split up, and so that's the reason why they all kind of joined different factions at first. Because I chose Yukimura, I got paired up initially with Naotora E and Mitsunari Ishida, who are the 3 out of the technical 4 Samurai Warriors representatives, because Nobunaga is in it, but it's Nobunyanga in his cat version where he has a fucking rifle, because that seems to be a friggin', I don't want to say meme, but that seems to be a thing with Nobunaga. Give him a fucking rifle. He's the rifle guy. Nobunaga. But I guess you could say he's technically in the game. Dynasty Warriors literally has 4, because we've got Zhao Yun, who, you know, is the poster. He's like basically the Yukimura equivalent. In fact, you could say that Yukimura is copying Zhao Yun. Zhao Yun's in the game. Then there's Wang Yuangji. She's in it. And then Lu Bu, obviously, he has to be in it. And actually a new character, Joe Kong, who is making his debut prior to Dynasty Warriors 9, and that's pretty cool. Which he seemed like a pretty cool guy. He seemed like going fast. I kept thinking of, like, Sonic. Like, I feel like if AJ were to play this game, he'd probably like him. I think he's more of a Ma Chao kind of guy, but I think he'd like this guy too. And gameplay wise, he actually plays all right. Like, if you've seen him, he has sort of like that weird, like, blade thing with, like, the handle on it. It actually played better than I thought. I think he's probably going to play a bit different in Dynasty Warriors 9 than he does in this game, since they're changing up the battle system pretty heavily, or relatively heavily, but we'll see. But yeah, so because I chose Yukimura, I got paired up with Shiki, and he's all like, heroes, lend me your strength. I'm trying to take over and become king and shit. And be all like, oh, okay, I hate my sister Tamaki and my cousin Setsuna. They're douchebags. He doesn't actually say that, but he's sort of competing with them, and they're trying to, like, they're competing kind of for, like, the heir to the throne, which will also give them the ability to, like, fuel the live stream or whatever. But as the story goes on a little bit, Shiki quickly reveals that like the real reason why he's sort of going against Tamaki and Setsuna is because there's this evil demon named Yomi, who once the spring is revived, Yomi can actually get resurrected because the seal's pretty weak anyway, and Yomi can then take over whoever the heir is, and so Shiki's sort of like martyring himself in a way, while also trying to figure out. He's like half martyring himself, but also having to trying to figure out how to prevent this whole. He's kind of being sort of like the I'm the big brother, so like I should handle all this. Of course, the good guys are all like, I don't know, because you later get some missions, and this kind of goes along with the whole party kind of joining up in the end, because there's a world map and then missions pop up, and before they pop up, you'll get like little small cutscenes where like characters will talk and be like, hey, I heard a rumor, or hey, we need help, or hey, can you come here, I want to talk to you, or hey, let's get this fish, or whatever. And one of them, I think it was Ayane and Naotora E, that is, they wanted to talk to Setsuna's lead commander and try to convince them to like join up, because the whole Yomi, and like they went to tell, I think it was Nobunaga, they went to tell him about Yomi. That was actually a fun mission. They had to like learn with like fish and whatnot. And then it was with someone else, but the main character who was like sort of the ringleader of this mission was a character named Darius, who is from Haruka Naru Toki no Nakade, which is a visual novel. I think that's a Koei thing. It's actually kind of interesting from what I've researched. It's apparently a visual novel that has like a combat. It's like a visual novel RPG. I think at least the fourth one had like a turn-based RPG combat system. I don't know if the other ones have any combat. I think the majority of them are just visual novels, but I don't know how popular it is, but it seems pretty interesting. The main reason why I like it is because I love the friggin' character songs. They're awesome, and they have a bunch of voice actors too. But they translate it as Haruka Beyond the Stream of Time, which I think is sort of like the official English title, because I know there's some like material that's come out, like I think one of the manga came out, and I think there's an anime, like an original anime that came out that got maybe dubbed, I think probably just subbed, I don't know. I think it's on like Viewster or something, or Tubi TV or whatever. It's on some alternative Crunchyroll streaming site, so if you want to watch it legally you can do that, or you can just get the DVD or whatever. But they used Darius and Hajime from Haruka 6, which I think is the latest one. And I was already pretty interested in it, so I was actually excited they were included. Something like, oh, it'd be really cool to like have them in like a Warriors game, and bam, here they are. I guess I should also note that the Atelier, a couple of Atelier characters are in it. It's Sophie and Plakta. I'm still not sure how to pronounce her name, even though Ryo corrected me like a million times on the podcast. Which we've also talked about as well. I know it's kind of late, but there'll be a link in the description for those who want to listen. So, you know. And also, besides the Atelier characters, our niece from Knights of Azure is in this game, which I did a little my thoughts on before. She plays similar to how she played in that game. She's Warriors-ified. I know that's kind of weird considering it was a hack and slash, but she plays a little bit different. In fact, she can like summon things with like her first strong attack. She can like summon monsters. So I actually don't really like playing as her that much because I don't really like summoning things that often. I haven't checked to see if she has any useful skills, which is another thing that this game has, because it's like Warriors Orochi where you have a team. On my team, I end up having Yukimura, who is the guy I played as, and then I had Wang Yuanji from Dynasty Warriors, and then I had Plakta from Atelier, because she had like some healing spells. She and Wang Yuanji had healing spells, or healing attacks. Hajime from Haruka 6, because I liked him and he was cool. And also Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden, because he actually had like a special. He and Hajime had like a combo that they could do. I think it was more or less like they would do their special like abilities like in unison, and it was like choreographed a little differently so they could kind of like time it together. I think it was called like Twin Dragon or something. I would use it sometimes. I got to a point where in order to like defeat enemies quickly, I would spam the abilities. They have a cooldown obviously, but I would spam them when I could. And by doing that, I would take out like a soldier like really quickly. Like Spirit of Sanada, I got to a point where I could take out like officers pretty quickly. Sometimes just with Yukimura, not really that often. Or at least a little bit. It's been a little bit, so I don't remember how quickly I've been able to kill officers with just Yukimura. But a lot of times I would just spam, especially near the final level, which I'll talk about, because that one was actually a bit of a little pain. But anywho, to get back on track, so you get these two missions with Darius and I think someone else, and then Ayane and Naotora E separately to like talk to Tamaki's army and Setsuna's army and tell them about Yomi and be like, hey, we should all work together. And that's ultimately what happens. They all end up working together. And then later it's revealed who actually is the vessel for Yomi, or the person Yomi is possessed. I initially thought it was going to be Shiki because of how sort of distant he was being and how he was sort of like antagonizing Tamaki and Setsuna. I feel like, okay, out of the three, like, Setsuna, I don't think that would work because he's sort of like the typical spirited young hero character. He plays okay as well. I know, like, on the podcast I talked about, like, oh, he looks really fun to play as. He plays okay. It's not, like, super amazing or anything. I haven't really leveled him up or anything, so as far as I know, he might have some better combos. And Tamaki, that would have been too obvious because she's sort of like the poster chick, I think, of the original characters. I think mainly it's because she was the first one to be introduced. I don't even remember Shiki. I think Shiki was like the last one they revealed, or it seemed that way. Or I at least didn't know about him. I remember hearing about Tamaki and Setsuna. I didn't hear about Shiki until like later. Or I just saw him in like videos. I'm like, oh, that's that guy. That guy. He'll probably join the team. So I originally thought it was Shiki. But it actually turns out that it's Sayo, who is Shiki and Tamaki's mother. She's actually the one who is possessed by Yomi. And so you try to fight her. She wrecks your shit. She takes over some of your friends, which that's a pain. And then they give you the final level. And you can, like, basically win the day that way and, like, kill Yomi and break your friends free of her control, which apparently I got the true ending on accident because they gave you a bunch of other missions like, oh, let's look for the other fragments to this prophecy piece so we can figure out what we need to do, and then like let's free all our friends from Yomi's control, and then let's like awaken our special weapons so we can actually do real damage to Yomi. But I did all those, and then suddenly, like, they took away the final one and then gave me another one where we actually rescue Sayo from Yomi's control. Then they gave me some... Or no, the trials were like... That was just like the weapons activation thing. Which, you know, I remember talking about Spirit of Sanada. I never... Like, getting to 2,000 kills was sort of a big deal for me. In this game, they actually wanted me to get to 3,000 kills, which that took a bit of effort. I had to use this thing called Muzo Rush, which is basically like, you've probably seen the trailers where like there's like a spotlight and there are a bunch of enemies all over the place that just keep spawning, and then like you see your team members in the corner like cheering you on. That's what that is. When you reach certain thresholds, usually like 500 or so, or 530, or you know, in the hundreds and in the 130s or whatever, your characters would come cheer you on, and it would start a new KO counter, so it would add to your I think it would add more to your KO count overall. I don't remember, but it was also pretty useful on taking out officers, and I would use that to like I would usually spam the abilities, and then I would go into that if I had both available, or I would do the Muzo Rush and then spam it. It really depends, but I would basically like spam to like take care of like super big enemies, especially when they would get to like higher levels, because in this game, officers have like different levels. I think up to like 10, and the more bases you take over, like it's basically star power, and if you're like a level 1 or a level 2 and you're trying to fight a level 9 opponent, like it'll be pretty tough, and like they'll have like a lot of HP and a lot of defense, and they'll hit pretty hard. But if you get up higher up to like 7, 8, or 9, you'll be able to beat them easier. It's kind of like a power level thing. So you kind of have to grind like weird like in-game instance levels or whatever, and that made especially the final level pretty tough. Another thing that was kind of tough, it seemed like a million characters had hyper armor, even the characters where it didn't really make too much sense. Like Lu Bu, obviously he needs to have fucking hyper armor because he's Lu Bu, but I noticed it happened a lot with the characters who were under Yomi's control. That happened a lot, and that was a little annoying. I didn't die or get a game over that often. It was really only like I think twice, or like 3. One of them was because Lu Bu fucking juggled the hell out of me and killed me. Another one was, besides the final level, because that one I lost a million times, mainly because fucking Setsuna is all like, I'm dying, he can't fucking defend himself. I don't think your teammates can, or like your AI companions can like level up in star power. They might be able to, but yeah, it was mainly those two, like the star power thing and also the hyper armor, which depending on what kind of mission you were doing, it actually made sort of winning tough, and it made it take a little longer. I know I talked about how Fate Extella was more territory based, where like you're mainly just taking over territories. This game is also territory based slightly, but it's also task based. Like be like, oh, get to this section of the map, or oh, aid this person, or kill this person, or escort this person to like this side of the map, or retreat to this area, like different kinds of stuff, or meet here, or find all the hidden lamps, or whatever, or interact with the barrel, which is actually a trophy in this game, where you can go into the bar section of like the main hub world, where I think it's called the Sanctuary, and you can go into like the bar area, and there's a barrel there, and you can interact with it, and Yukimaru's like, it's a barrel, and you get a trophy for it. It made me proud. My point being, there was the final level was sort of like that, where you basically had Tamaki, Shiki, and Setsuna all in like the battlefield, and you had to protect all of them, because if any of them died, it was game over, and that was a bit of a pain, because I'd have to go back and forth. That was really kind of where I had to sort of, exercise my Warriors muscle, where it's just like, okay, I need to study this area, play it a few times, play it as, really study it if I can't beat it like on this time, and like go to where the enemy's going to be, which I ended up winning somehow. And of course I got to a point to where like everyone was pretty strong in that particular area with like the star power and like just different power-ups that I had, and like having the Muzo Rush full and the friggin' full abilities and whatnot, and I beat up Yomi real good. I tried to screen cap a bunch of cool sayings that the characters would say. I'll probably include some in the if I write like a blog post on it, or maybe I'll just upload all of them to Imgur or something. But that final mission was a friggin' pain. Like, that took forever, and I was so glad when I finally finished it. I was like slightly worried that like my PS4 would like die on me, and like no, and have to replay it. And I think the highest level I got all my team members, or at least Yukimura, was like maybe 30 or 40, which I know is not even close to the max level. I imagine it's probably like 90 or whatever. So yeah, but there are other missions like that, as you'll see in the gameplay footage, because I mainly did like the main stuff. I didn't do a lot of side stuff. I tried to do all like the character ones where you'd get characters and whatnot. I didn't do Christophorus's one from Knights of Azure, mainly because the game wouldn't fucking let me. But I'm like, okay, I'll get to her, because I assumed they would like let me get the other characters that I'm supposed to have on Shiki's team, as the story continued. I wasn't even expecting them to give me everyone so early. It might have been because I played this game and like I finished the entire story in like a week or whatever. I think like 4 or 5 days, so a little under a week or so. I played this game pretty quickly, but yeah, there are other like missions, and I'm doing some of them as you'll see in the footage. So a lot of like really low level ones. This game does do the whole clear data thing, like in old Tales games, where like when you save over your clear data, it starts you off at the beginning of the story again. The difference being is that you regain all your levels and whatnot. So I saved a extra slot like I used to do, so I could just keep playing where I left off at near the end of the game and just kind of mess around and stuff, which is fun because like in the Sanctuary there's like you can talk to all your characters, and sometimes you'll see them talking to each other, and like you'll get to see their little interactions. Like I said, there was the bar where like there's the barrel. Rio from Rio Rainbow Gate would have like a slot machine over there, and you could like look at it. I don't think you could actually. I think you could play it. I don't remember. I remember there's one where like the little like slot thing actually showed up on screen or something. I think I might be misremembering or being confused. And then there was also a spa that you could go into where, depending on like when you got your friendship level with the other characters high enough, like you could talk to them and stuff, like you enjoyed a bath with a friend. And whenever someone wasn't there, it was kind of funny, because like a tiger showed up and it was just hanging out, and it just showed up, and like text just showed up on screen saying you left because it was occupied. I think they even gave you a trophy for it too. And I'm guessing there's probably going to be some other cameos and whatnot. There's also a Tecmo arcade, which apparently, you know, if you hear the audio from it, if someone's playing it, it's an actual Tecmo arcade game. So that's cool. There are also, in terms of references, like there's items. Like there was a Monster Rancher, a few Monster Rancher items as well. I think I've talked about this already. But other series they showed, they included Warriors Orochi, which was kind of interesting. I guess they consider that a separate series. I don't know, maybe they'll do a Warriors Orochi 4. I feel like because of this game, they probably won't / shouldn't, because since Tecmo Koei is like, you know, Tecmo Koei now, it's not just, and they don't do just Warriors anymore, so I feel like, you know, why not just include a bunch of people. My only complaint with this would be like maybe include more characters, I guess. Like just a few more, like some fan favorites. I think they included as many as they could. And obviously characters like Zhao Yun and Yukimura, they need to kind of stay. Zhao Yun arguably more than Yukimura, since Zhao Yun is sort of like the poster boy for Warriors in general. But it would be nice to have some more. There was also a training area that you could like talk to, and just some other stuff. Probably the coolest thing I thought, going back to the cameos, is the music, because like they do music. The Haruka Naru Toki no Nakata music, that was a nice song. Unfortunately for Yukimura, they do the Osaka song where it's like they do that one. They don't do the one from Samurai Warriors 4, which is basically Yukimura's theme, where it's like, I think it's called like Twin Cherry Blossoms. I really wish they had done that song. Maybe if they make a second one, they'll use it, because I think that's an awesome song. But they do have Arena and Welcome to China from Dynasty Warriors, which is awesome. Every time I heard Arena, I'm just like, oh yeah, Dynasty Warriors. And they also do the song from the first level of Knights of Azure, which is pretty awesome. All the music's arranged pretty well too. I think they all sound really nice. But probably the biggest surprise for me was that they, and also they had a couple of Ninja Gaiden songs. One of them sounded like they came from, I think, one of the, obviously the, but they had another one that I mainly recognized from the AVGN episode of Ninja Gaiden, I think. And I thought that was kind of cool. It was kind of hard for me to tell, but anyway, the biggest thing was that they actually played the Coliseum music from, I think it's Monster Rancher 2. It might be also from Monster Rancher 1, but I mainly heard it in Monster Rancher 2. That's actually Monster Rancher 2 and 4 are the only ones I've actually played. I know there's one, also a 3, and also technically a 5. But I thought that was really cool. I wasn't expecting that. Like, I'm hearing, like, wait a second, that sounds really familiar. Like, oh, that's Monster Rancher. I really liked Monster Rancher growing up. That definitely, hearing that song definitely tugged at the nostalgia strings. I thought that was really cool. I think one of the Deception characters, because they also have like that Deception, like trap setting game. They had Millennia and Lagrinia or whatever her name is, or Lagrina, or they had them two in it, as well as other characters. But I think one of them, I think Millennia had the ability to summon Suezo in her game. I think. But since I mentioned the other characters, I guess I'll also note that the Tokiden characters were also in it. Trying to think of who else I'm missing. I think that's everyone. I think they have everyone from Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, one of the Atelier games. I guess sort of like just a general one. I don't know much about that series. Tokiden, a couple characters from Knights of Azure. So I guess another Gust RPG representative. It would have been cool if they got Liner from Artonalico in it. It would have been dope. Two chicks from the Deception games, like those. I'm pretty sure it's called Deception. It's like a trap thing. Like that game Trapped, is what I mean. And it's like you're like this like sadistic like medieval chick who like puts traps in castles and kills knights. Is basically what that is. Trying to think. I think I've covered all. I'm sure there's probably some that I'm missing. And Dead or Alive, that's also one. I think I said Ninja Gaiden, I can't remember, and obviously Neo. But they have a lot of different kinds of characters. Again, I'd say probably my biggest complaint overall, besides the difficulty spikes that would come in, I'd say the lack of character. I think it would have been cool if they included more, and a few more fan favorites from the different series, especially like Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors. Like, it would have been cool if it would have been cool if Zhao Dun was in the game, or South Sao or something. And Mitsunari, or not, Mitsuhide is who I meant. Mitsuhide Akichi, that would have been cool. Now Masai, I would have loved to have. I mean, obviously I'm fine with Yukimura, but maybe in the next one they'll include Masayuki. That'd be cool, or Nobuyuki, or the old man version of Yukimura. That'd be awesome. I actually thought it would have been cool for some of these characters who appear in other games, because Yukimura, due to the DLC, actually appears in Neo, and it's a bit more of like a quote-unquote. It's more like the Nobunaga's Ambition rendition of him, where he's got like the helmet and like the long hair and the beard. And like his armor's different. He's got like the deer helmet, or the antler helmet, or whatever, with like the 6 Sonata coin emblem on it or whatever. It'd be cool if like either from Nobunaga's Ambition or Neo they included a costume of that version of Yukimura for him. And they wouldn't do too much. I'm not expecting them to like basically like get Shinichiro Miki to come in and like replace Takashi Kusao for that one version or whatever, or whoever voiced him in Nobunaga's Ambition. But it'd be cool for like costumes, or like characters that like appear in other stuff as well. In other costumes, they did some like switcheroo costumes where like characters are given different outfits. Like for some reason they gave Yukimura Ryu Hayabusa's costume. They gave Hajime Yukimura's costume, but yeah, that's pretty cool, I guess. And they gave our niece Honoka's costume, so, you know, school uniform, like, I'm all for that. But, no biggie, I guess. With the costumes, at least. I'm trying to think of, I think I've covered everything. Overall, it was a pretty cool game. Like I said, the lack of characters was a bit of a thing, and the difficulty did kind of spike randomly, and I felt like sometimes it was a little cheap, like the hyper armor, like I mentioned, and the the star power thing that got a little annoying. The final level, that was probably the toughest level out of the entire game that I had played, but it wasn't too bad. The scenery was nice too, like going into Rio's area and going into like the casino. That was kind of cool. But yeah, it was a pretty good game. I enjoyed it. You know, pretty awesome. One thing that kind of stood out to me, I guess, final thoughts, completely random, not really that important, but like in Warriors games, whenever you've won a mission or you've lost a mission, usually it would get rid of like the HUD or like the UI, and basically like only dialogue boxes would show up. Whereas here they didn't get rid of it, but it made it to where you couldn't like do anything besides run. So like that'd be one way to kind of, that was always kind of cool to sort of be able to tell how, if you had won or lost. Whereas here was a little harder. I kind of had to guess when I thought the game had a let me win or let me lose. Like half of the time I was right, the other time I was like wrong or whatever. But you know, still pretty dope game. And yeah, I'd recommend it if you can get it. It's on PC as well, so if you don't have a PS4, you can get it there. And if you want to get into the Warriors series, like just gameplay wise, this one would actually be an okay one to start with, since you'd be experiencing different characters. You know, with the Warriors games, there's so many different like ways you can play. Like if you just want to play the regular ones, or if you want to play the Empires games, or if you just want to play like the mashups like this one, you can. Or if you just like playing like the anime tie-in ones like Berserk and Attack on Titan, or Dragon Quest Heroes, or you know, what have you. You know, there's a lot of them, and I've been playing most of them. I've actually, besides Pokken Tournament, I've actually been taking a little bit of a break from games because of this, because I've just been playing nothing but Warriors. And while I love the Warriors games, it can get kind of tiring when that's all you're playing. Probably have to dip into my backlog a little bit at some point to kind of give me something different to do as well. But yeah, it was pretty cool. I enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend it if you like the Warrior series, or if you want to get into it. This is an okay one to start with, I think, because it's like a bunch of different characters. If you're just kind of like trying to like get a piece of it, I mean, if you want to play Dynasty Warriors, play Dynasty Warriors, and if you want to play Samurai Warriors, play Samurai Warriors. But if you just kind of want like just a general idea of what the gameplay is all about, this one's actually a pretty decent one to start with, I think. And hopefully they'll make another one with more cool stuff. In terms of rating, I'd give it probably an 8 out of 10 due to like the criticisms that I mentioned. They were more or less minor, but still a pretty good game. Alrighty, this is Flames on aka YouTube Sasuke signing out. See you later.